All right, y'all. Making sure that audio is coming through. 1 second. Okay. And all right, so that's looking good everywhere. Okay. And just one other place now. All right. All right, guys. So apparently today earlier on today, at just after 2, there was a shooting in DC close to the White House, and a couple of National Guards got shot. And that's not good, because Trump requested to have additional security, and that was not happening. Got shot. And the outcome is what we see here. So I will play the video, and then we can go from there, and then you guys can actually see what happened. You can get an understanding of what's going on. All right, just give me a second. All right. So pretty much I think we're good for the most part. So let me jump into it. All right.
Where we've been seeing a lot of National Guard presence amid President Trump's federal takeover. It's unclear whether a suspect is known or even in custody, but authorities remain on the scene. It's a working story. We are trying to get every detail possible. For more, let's bring in our Jay O'Brien. He's there at the scene here in Washington, D.C. Jay, we got word. I mean, literally, you are, 2 to 3 blocks away from where we are here at our ABC News Bureau. We can see all the rescue crews, the police behind you. Tell us everything you know.
That's right, Kira. And as we ran to this scene, we could see National Guardsmen running here as well. You can see some of them set up here behind me. It is a chaotic scene. We just watched what appeared to be one of those 2 wounded National Guardsmen loaded into an ambulance that just sped off with a police escort. The scene seems to be concentrated, and it's difficult to see through these vehicles, but it seems to be concentrated inside the metro station. So if you look at that fire truck, on the other end of that fire truck is the entrance to the Farragut West Metro Station. It's often where National Guardsmen stage here in Washington, D.C. as they patrol the metro stations and attempt to keep them safe. And I can tell you, maybe just about an hour ago, Kira, I actually emerged from that metro station and I saw two National Guardsmen standing there. There were some others in and around the station. We do not know who was wounded, but we can report, according to two sources, that two uniformed military personnel were wounded, and sources tell us that the suspect here was also loaded into an ambulance. And it has since somewhat calmed here, although it is chaotic. But I can tell you, just mere minutes ago, Kira, we watched as EMS sprinted up here toward the metro station as tactical units with what appeared to be the Secret Service, because we're only a block away from the White House, also staged here. DC Metro Police as well. Obviously, we are very much in the early moments of this. We will continue to get more information and bring it to you, but a tragic and a chaotic scene here.
Indeed it is. And Jay, just stay with me because this is the first time we've been able to get live pictures up of the scene there. I guess first my question is, while we work to confirm that it's actual National Guardsmen that have been shot, how far are you from where exactly EMS was working on them and giving them CPR?
Yeah, and Chris, I'm going to have you come up to the police line here. Chris is our camera operator, and he's going to show you what this scene looks like. And Chris, if you can swoop right to left for me here and go towards the Farragut Metro Station, because as far as we could tell, we are about maybe a half block away, perhaps a full block from where those guardsmen were, or where the victims of this shooting were being worked on by EMS. We do not know their conditions at this hour. Again, I saw what appeared to be one loaded into an ambulance that sped off here with a police escort. But you've got about an entire block here shut down as you watch Secret Service just walk by in front of the camera here. Guardsmen here also staging. And I can tell you here, we've overheard some of their conversations, particularly when we were closer and on the other side of the street. And they are emotional at this hour, just given how uncertain all of this is and how much they don't know. And again, as we walked up here, we saw at least 3 National Guardsmen sprinting here to this scene, as well as other law enforcement personnel. And so I just want to have Chris here settle on that wide shot, because again, just to set the stage as to where we are. And you can see, by the way, employees of the DC Metro here as well. It appears that the bulk of what's occurring at this scene and the bulk of the casework and where those 2 victims were being worked on, those 2 uniformed military personnel, is entirely concentrated around the entrance of that Farragut West Metro Station, which again is where we have seen over the last few months since they were deployed here to D.C., Guardsmen stage. And we cannot stress enough, Kira, just how close we are to the White House. We are just about a block away from the White House. Lafayette Park, which is the beginning of the entrance to the White House, is 1 block in that direction. We also don't know anything at this hour. We don't know motive. We do not know the condition of what those sources tell us are those 2 wounded. And we also don't know the condition of what sources tell us was at least 1 suspect who also is receiving medical attention.
All right, Jay, stay with us. Let us know what you found out. I want to take it straight to our justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, I understand you were able.
You know what I don't understand? Why would somebody be that insane? Like mentally insane. That's an illness. To want to go out and shoot someone. I understand that there is so much going on with the way law enforcement have been perceived to operate. And for someone to go out in the state's capital, Washington, D.C., and open fire, harming 2 National Guards, they have to have some kind of really serious unbalanced behavior going on. Something is going on in their life, and I'm not trying to make any justification, but what would make a person want to go out and shoot someone for no apparent reason hopefully that the suspect don't pass away and they can get some answers, right? So let's continue.
To talk to a D.C. police official confirming that there was an active shooter, that suspect is down. What do we know about the National Guardsmen?
Well, just got a call from D.C. police. The official said that this incident took place at 2:20. Active shooter, National Guardsmen in that vicinity. At least one National Guardsman has been shot. The source did not give an update on that person's condition. The official also said that at least one suspect is down. He did not give any more specificity other than that the suspect is down. Obviously, they are now getting support from multiple federal agencies. D.C. Police will take the lead along with Metro Police as well. That particular Metro stop, as Jay pointed out, is only a couple blocks, if that, from the White House. The Metro that many of us use. I use that Metro, and it's pretty stunning that you would have that kind of, gunplay in a location like that. It is, in the heart of the tourist area of the district. So many people going down, coming up to work as well as to see the sites be near the White House. Again, this is all hands on deck. D.C. Police trying to get additional information. We should expect a briefing within the next hour or two after they get the scene under control, and first and foremost, make sure that those injured are getting the appropriate medical attention.
Of course, and we're going to continue to work details. If you don't mind, Pierre, make whatever calls, texts, emails you can to get more information so we can continue to confirm what we're hearing right now. I want to bring in our contributor and former FBI agent Brad Garrett along with you too, Pierre, as we are looking at live pictures right now. Just to set the scene, if you're just tuning in, it's pretty remarkable that we are so up close to these pictures. This is literally 2 blocks away from where our bureau is here at ABC News. Our photographer, Chris Plater, happened to be here along with our Jay O'Brien. They were able to run down the block. So that's why we're getting these live pictures. Chris is there on the scene as this is an active situation. You can see the D.C. police responding. You see the number of National Guardsmen on the street because what happened, I actually got a text message from my nephew who was en route here to visit our news program today saying we see people fleeing, something's going on. It looks like a possible shooting. And now here we are with these live pictures, as you can see at Connecticut. And I think it's I Street there, not far from the Farragut West Metro station where the shooting took place. You just heard our Pierre Thomas that the suspect is down. One National Guardsman has been injured. Chris, our photographer who's shooting these live pictures for right now, saw EMS working on at least 2 individuals. What he believed definitely was one of those National Guardsmen. We do not know the condition of any of the individuals who have been shot. We're still working that information. But Brad, I just want to bring you in as we continue to look at these live pictures. We know the ATF is responding to the shooting. We see D.C. police. We see EMS there on the scene. I mean, this would just be tragic after the President of the United States called for 2,400 National Guardsmen to walk the streets here of D.C., to walk this area, to make things safer when he was concerned about crime. And now this is exactly the thing that we were afraid of, and that was members of the National Guard being shot. Brad.
It's like as if President Trump was a psychic. Like he went to the psychic ball and was like, tell me what's going to happen. So he's like, he predicted it. And to know that he asked for additional guards to come and actually patrol Washington, D.C., and that didn't happen. And now 2 National Guards have been shot. It's senseless. Now this is going to give more ammunition for him to be able to do more, and more people are going to be angry. That's just what's going to happen, right? But do you blame what is going to happen next? The force that is going to be pushed forth towards the implementation of certain agendas, or certain procedures or the anger that some police officers, agents are going to feel, whether it's the FBI, the ICE agents, the National Guards, the military, anybody that's in the armed forces are going to become very, very angry at this, right? And they're going to behave more aggressively. And more aggressive that they behave, maybe more people are going to be doing these ridiculous violence, which is not really which is not supposed to be happening. Okay? There's other ways to go out there and pull a gun out and shoot someone because they're doing their job. You know, that's just how it is, and let's continue.
Tell me now, as a former FBI agent, what's going on with regard to the investigation and what's taking place at this point?
And so the real key is this a lone shooter? They're talking about someone being down. Is he or she the only person involved? You know, you want to quickly ID them. You're going to want to review CCTV that probably captured, if not most, or perhaps all of this shooting, to give you some insight to what you're dealing with. Is it a lone person? Fine. Then you don't.
He says he or she. So maybe they don't know if the shooter is a male or female, but come on. When have you really heard a woman going out there, pulling out a rifle, pulling out a gun, and shooting someone? It's very unlikely. So I would assume that the shooter is a male, but allegedly speaking. All right, let's continue.
You've reduced the immediacy that there's someone else out there that either was involved in this shooting or moving on potentially to shoot somebody else. You know, the unfortunate thing here about the National Guard is that, you know, they're in a difficult position because they're really not law enforcement, but they're a target because they're in uniform. And typically when you see these types of shootings, it's because of what they represent to the shooter. They can go everything from mental health challenges to problems in the military, or they just don't like the National Guard in DC or any place else perhaps. You know, that can be sorted out. That's not the important issue right now. The important issue is safety beyond the obvious safety of where this shooting occurred. And I suspect in pretty quick order with the ATF and probably FBI, I'll jump into this also, it'll help them figure out what they have.
Got it. And as we continue to follow this breaking news story, how did we find out about this? My nephew, Dave McElwain, who joins me here on set now, here visiting for the Thanksgiving holiday. He was trying to get to the Bureau. He texted me saying something's going on. There are people running down the street. He said he was not far from the Executive Building, which is right next to the White House, which is not far from where we are here at the Bureau. Dave, I know you came for family Thanksgiving dinner, but you also find yourself in the middle of breaking news here. And just tell me, as you were driving in to come watch the newscast, what did you see? What did you hear? Just give me all the details.
Yeah, so we were driving about 2 blocks away, just looking at Google Maps, trying to figure out where to go, and we heard people screaming. Looked like a couple families running out from one of the buildings, and then we noticed the armed, with their rifles out, uniformed security. I'm not sure exactly who they were. A couple of them coming out onto the street, trying to get traffic to move, yelling and pointing, and we just did a quick U-turn and got out of there as quickly as we could.
So now that we know it was actually an active shooting, I mean, you were blocks away from where this shooter was at Farragut Metro Center. So there's a lot of law enforcement in the area. There's DC police, there's Secret Service. I mean, we have so many different types of law enforcement in the area. Tell me what exactly you saw. They had their guns drawn and they were clearing everybody from the area?
Yeah, absolutely. They had them drawn but pointing down, not actively pointing at somebody,
of course.
but they looked like there was definitely an incident going on, and we just wanted to be out of there as quickly as possible so that they could do their job.
Yeah, they were in the ready position for sure. Dave, thank you so much. All right, Brad, I want to bring you back as we're looking at these live pictures. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is now putting out on X right here, please join me in praying for the 2 National Guardsmen who were just shot moments ago in Washington, D.C. So now we are getting reportable news from the Secretary Noem that indeed it was 2 National Guardsmen that were shot. So, Brad, we're finding out, obviously, some pretty heart-wrenching details here on Thanksgiving week as we see members of National Guardsmen here on the scene. It's an all-out investigation now. Talk to us about where folks go from here, from the FBI to the ATF to D.C. Police, even the National Guard.
So clearly the key is maybe less motive and more about safety, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. And so that's going to be the real focus. The other is obviously the idea that you would shoot somebody in uniform in the National Guard. Could that spread? Could that give other people ideas? It's going to cause, I believe, the National Guard to sort of regroup how they're deployed.
Yep.
They may well deploy in bigger groups.
Yep.
If they're armed or if some of them are armed.
This is an ABC News special report.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We're coming on the air with reports now of 2 National Guard members that have been shot in downtown Washington, D.C., not far from the White House. Both members were in uniform. Police and ATF on the scene. A police official telling us that a suspect is down. President Trump deploying the National Guard in August, as you may remember, was part of his effort to crack down on violent crime. Violent crime as we're seeing play out right now on the streets of D.C. Let's get right to our Jay O'Brien. He's there at the scene. Jay, set the scene for us. Tell us what you know. And we actually see the scene behind you where police are actively...
Let's speed this up a little bit.
Safety, apparent victim. And then we saw another of those National Guard fatigues sprinting here on their cell phones, trying to get a sense of what was going on. We saw one apparent victim, someone in National Guard fatigues, being worked on by EMS and other law enforcement. We saw at least one of them at the entrance of the metro station, and then we saw another of those loaded into an ambulance, which sped off here with a police escort. Obviously, not much information coming out of the scene. Law enforcement now say they have it locked down, but chaotic here. Another thing we witnessed as we arrived is EMS sprinting to that metro station here. Now this scene has transitioned to be one of an investigation. We've seen federal agents arrive. We've seen tactical units with the Secret Service here, as well as DC Fire, and of course those fellow National Guardsmen who are here now watching and looking on as this tragic scene unfolds. Kira.
Okay, and I'm continuing to get in new details now, Jay. First of all, this is just heartbreaking. It's Thanksgiving week. This is exactly why the President of the United States put National Guards men and women on the streets, specifically in this area, because of violent.
If you're watching, guys, like the stream, okay? Leave your comments. Let us know what you think. All right, let's continue.
Violent crime he wanted to see an end to, and now we are reporting that a suspect is down after shooting 2 members of the National Guard. They were here not far from our bureau, our ABC News bureau here in D.C. We're located at DeSales in Connecticut. This is 17th Street and I, if you know it, not far from the White House, only a couple of blocks. You can see all the agencies on the scene, from the ATF to DC Fire, rescue crew, crews carrying out CPR, and obviously members of the National Guard and police. A statement coming from the White House now. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying the White House is aware and actively monitoring this tragic situation. The president has been briefed. Secretary Kristi Noem, DHS Secretary, saying, please join me in praying for the two National Guardsmen who were just shot moments ago in Washington, D.C. Let's get straight to our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, can you tell us anything about the conditions of those two members of the National Guard that have been shot?
Again, we're still awaiting information. Law enforcement officials wanted to first secure the scene, get the victims to medical treatment as soon as possible. Initially, D.C. police were giving guidance that at least one National Guardsman was shot. We've now heard from a second D.C. police official who said two were injured. That official also confirming that the suspect is in custody, with another D.C. police official telling me that the suspect was down. I don't know if that suspect was injured or how badly. Again, D.C. police are getting assistance from Secret Service, other federal agencies to secure the scene. And obviously, what I was told is that at 2:20 p.m., there was an active shooter incident at the entrance of that metro stop. Apparently, the National Guard was there. It's unclear if it was a robbery. It's unclear if they were targeted. Again, a lot of information officials are trying to glean to get specifics, but obviously the main priority was getting assistance to the victims who were injured. Crime in D.C. had been going down in recent months, but suffice it to say, gun violence in this country is chronic. And so even when there is improvement,
very true,
there are always people, unfortunately, who have weapons and are willing to use them. This is a situation, obviously, because...
Hey, guys, do you think that guns should be taken away from citizens in America? In UK, they don't have guns. Police barely carry guns, but they have a serious knife problem. You know, I've heard from friends over there, family over there, that over there people are getting shanked, right? Knife gangs. But, you know, we have our rights to carry weapons. But there are certain people that shouldn't be carrying weapons. And what procedures should be put in place to evaluate someone's mental illness or their propensity to go out and commit a crime that they're not really defending themselves? Is just that they will go out, and because they disagree with someone, they will take someone's life? Do you think any suggestion that there can be some kind of procedures to help with that process? If you have any thoughts, share it in the comments, right? Because I have my thoughts, and I think that more needs to be done in evaluating people. Sometimes people just go off the deep end and do things regardless. A perfectly fine person that don't seem to have any mental issues will somehow get so overwhelmed and passionate about what they believe in and go out and commit atrocities that you wouldn't on any given day think that they would. So your thoughts are important. Let's have a conversation. Let's continue.
At the location near the White House, we're being told that the White House, for at least a period, was put on lockdown as they try to assess the situation. Again, bevy of law enforcement officials there. I've seen those National Guardsmen often on my walk to the metro. They were there, to support D.C. police. Again, they're not law enforcement officials, but they were definitely put in a position today where it was a very tragic circumstance.
Indeed, tragic circumstance just a day before Thanksgiving. And Pierre, just to reiterate, the president has been briefed. We have heard from...
Now, yeah, even for Thanksgiving. Now, some people celebrate Thanksgiving, right? And some people don't. For whatever reasons, that's their decision. However, to know that someone goes out to do his or her job today and they might not make it home to spend time with their family tomorrow. Right? And we know that the forces, well, it's the local police departments, the National Guards, the anybody in any parts of any government agencies that has to do with law enforcement have to work tomorrow, because you know that on holidays usually that's a time for the weird, creepy people, the violent people, the people that think that they can walk out and do something to someone and no consequences. But to think that they're out there doing their jobs today and that tomorrow that they might not be with their family, or their family's in mourning right now. Yeah, not a good day for those families. But let's continue.
From White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, that not only has the president been briefed, but also that the White House is on lockdown. Also, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem saying, please join me in praying for the two National Guardsmen who were just shot moments ago in Washington, D.C. And if you're just joining us right now, as you know, President Trump has been deploying National Guard troops in cities that he has said have needed the extra support because of crime, violent crime like what we have just seen this afternoon. We can tell you we are trying to confirm at this point whether that suspect is down or in custody. As you heard from our Pierre Thomas, we've been getting reports that either one of those scenarios could be the situation right now, but we can confirm that two members of the National Guard have been shot. National Guard members that were not far from the Farragut West Metro Station. They had been at Union Station, our main train station here in D.C., tourist areas like the mall, where a lot of people have been coming in for Thanksgiving vacation, as you know, and also the metro station. It just so happened that my nephew was here en route to the Bureau visiting for Thanksgiving. He texted me saying, I'm not far from you. We see people running. We see officers in the ready position, guns down, trying to move people away from the scene. And then the yellow tape started to go up. And now we know it's a breaking news situation. Two members of the National Guard shot. Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky also working his sources. Anything that you can tell us, Aaron, about the condition of those two members of the National Guard and also the suspect? Is he down? Is he in custody? Do we know?
At least one suspect is in custody, according to D.C. Metro Police, Kira, and the condition of the National Guardsmen who were shot was not immediately clear, although they were seen getting medical attention and immediately rushed to ambulances and presumably to the hospital. So the injuries do appear to be serious, even though we don't know the specific condition. With a suspect in custody and the scene seemingly secure, a focus will turn to whether these guardsmen were specifically targeted. If that's the case, it would fit with what we've been hearing from law enforcement officials for a number of months now, that some political flashpoints in the country, whether that's immigration policies by the administration, the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, even amid a tenuous ceasefire, those kinds of flashpoints have made people in uniform, be they military, law enforcement, government officials, people in uniform, have increasingly been targets, and that is going to be one focus of the investigation going forward, Kira.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Aaron, stay with us as news develops. If you're just tuning in, once again, two members of the National Guard shot. We cannot confirm their condition, but our photographer there, Chris Plater, has been on the scene. He did see EMS working on at least two individuals that were down. As you heard from our Aaron Katursky, at least one suspect is in custody. There's a number of agencies on the scene. You have ATF, you have DC Fire, you have EMS, you have DC Police. And you see, as Chris is showing us the scene, this is about 2 blocks from the White House, 2 blocks photographs from us in our ABC News Bureau here in D.C. This shooting happening around 2 o'clock Eastern Time. We will continue to bring in all the details, keeping our fingers crossed just one day before Thanksgiving that these members of the National Guard can survive the shooting that has taken place this afternoon.
I hope so.
Our coverage will continue on ABC News Live and abcnews.com. I'll be back with the entire team for World News Tonight. I'm Kira Phillips. Sorry to bring you this news on the day before Thanksgiving, but we're going to stay on the story with all the details, hopefully be able to update you on these two members of the National Guard. I'll see you over on ABC News Live right now. Hope you'll join me.
Okay. So after the shooting happened, President Trump chimed in and gave his thoughts and how he feels. And I'm telling you, I'm 100% sure that he's going to be very incredulous to what anyone is saying that's out that's out there protesting. He will not care. Right? So they're just making it worse. Right? They're just making it worse. What happened with him is almost assassination during the time when he was running, when he was doing it during his campaign, and also what happened to Charlie Kirk, and now this, and it's getting very heavy, and I think that to get someone to back off and you going out there using a weapon, you're not going to get the outcome that you want. You're just going to worsen the outcome. So whatever it is that you had in mind, where you think that, or whatever thought you had, that by doing this, it will solve a problem, that wasn't the right thing to do. And you never know. You might have some conspiracy theorists go out there and say, "Oh, it was a plant. They put that person there so that person could stir things up, so the law enforcement can go out there and just disregard everything and everyone." That could be the case, but do we really know? But when you go out there and do something like this, you're not going to get the outcome that you want. All right. So let's go over to Trump and hear what he has to say. All right.
My great fellow Americans, earlier today, on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday, 2 members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C., were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that, based on the best available information, The Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival. An example is Minnesota, where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state. Billions of dollars are lost, and gangs of Somalians come from a country that doesn't even have a government, no laws, no water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good. We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again, and we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice if the bullets going in the opposite direction haven't already done that. During this time of the year, when we gather at home with loved ones, these two patriots were wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling the streets of our capital. They had taken a selfless oath to defend our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that is exactly what they were doing when they were gunned down in a savage attack. I want to express my extraordinary gratitude to every member of the United States military who is deployed tonight, at home and abroad. I also want to thank the Secret Service and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department for their work today. This Thanksgiving, I ask every family to say a prayer for the two great heroes who were so horribly shot, and for their loved ones. Please say a prayer. May God bless them and comfort them, and may God bless and protect the United States of America. Thank you and good night.
Good night. Guys, let me tell you this. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Right? I mean, when I tell you it's going to get worse, it's going to get worse. And it's not going to be nice. Right? It's not going to be nice. Wow. This person just, he created a monster. It's not going to be nice. They are going to be more vigilant to everybody. This guy that decided to shoot the National Guards, if he was trying to, like I said, the news broadcast had said that male or female, but we usually know that females are not necessarily going out there and pulling out a weapon and shooting someone, right? So I'm going to say it's a man. So, but allegedly, right? Allegedly, the suspect is a man, and that suspect was also shot and injured. But I'm telling you, if he thought that his action was going to deter the president or deter any National Guard or any agents, it's just going to turn up the heat. Might as well he had gone out there and say, hey, I'm going to do this so you can turn up the heat on everyone. But, oh man, it's going to be hard out there. Washington, D.C., 500 additional troops. That's a militarized zone. Right? Let me look how many current people are in Washington, D.C. right now. How many agents are in Washington, D.C. right now? FBI has. Okay, no. I don't want that. Let me type something else. How many agents has Trump sent to? Come on. Sent to Washington, D.C. Sent in Washington, D.C. Let me see. See currently. All right. As of Wednesday, November 26, 2025, approximately 500 federal agents are actively deployed in Washington, D.C. as part of Trump's administration ongoing crime crackdown, supplemented by over 2,000 National Guard troops. The total number of personnel assigned to the Joint Task Force operating in the city is currently 2,500. So that's 2,500 people in just the city of Washington, D.C. All right. Following an additional deployment on November 26th. Accordingly, federal agents, about 500 agents from various federal agencies, including FBI, DEA, ATF, and the U.S. the U.S. Marshal Service are working alongside in the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. National Guards troops, the number of National Guards personnel has fluctuated, but the current number is over 2,000, which includes the D.C. National Guard and units from several Republican-led states like West Virginia, South Carolina, and Ohio. And a recent order of 500 additional troops was issued after 2 National Guard members were shot near the White House on November 26th. The mission statement is the stated purpose of the deployment is to combat crime, which President Trump claims is out of control. Although official statistics show violent crime in D.C. has reached a 30-year low, the National Guard troops have primarily been assigned to support roles such as patrolling tourist area, transit hubs, and assisting with beautification efforts. Legal challenges. The deployment has been the subject of legal challenges, with a federal judge recently ruling the use of the troops in D.C. unlawful. However, that order has been temporarily stayed to allow the Trump administration to appeal. So, like I say, this guy that went out and did the shooting was not a wise man. He just amplified the efforts. So they were already 2,000 or 2,500. So now I assume, based on my reading, if I read it correctly, it's going to be 3,000. Maybe it's 2,000, and it's going to be 2,500. So it was 2,000 National Guards. The total number of personnel assigned to the task force operating in the city is currently 2,500. So 2,500, right? So just to think, that's 2,500 National Guards. That's not including the FBI, not including DEA, not including ATF, right? So we're talking somewhere between maybe 4,000. So let me look up how many DEA is in Washington, D.C. right now. How many DEA agents? All right, so let me type that in. Okay, 60 DEA. Okay, let me read it. During civil unrest in Washington, D.C. in June. No, that was June. In June, it was 150. But currently, it has 60 agents specifically from Arizona in Washington, D.C. Let me read further down. Okay, so 2005 crime emergency as part of the larger crackdown on crime. An unspecific number of DEA agents were among approximately 500 federal agents from nearly 20 agencies. All right, so let's say 60. All right, let's go back and look at ATF. How many ATF agents? So as of November 2025, approximately 30 ATF agents, special agents, are part of the broader federal law enforcement coalition deployed in Washington, D.C. as part of Trump's administration's crackdown crime reduction efforts. So 2,500 National Guards and 30 DEA and 60 DEA and 30 ATF, right? So now we up 2,600 2,590 people. All right, so, and let me see how many FBI agents. And FBI. FBI. So August, that's in August. Let me see how much they have. So as of August 2025, President Trump deployed approximately 120 to 130 FBI agents to Washington, D.C. All right, so let's do the numbers here. 100, let's round it up to 130 plus 90, right? So we're talking about 2,700, right? Roughly 2,800 agents. 2,800 agents are in Washington, D.C. Wow. It's not looking pretty for Washington, D.C. Not at all. All right, guys. I'm going to end it here. Okay. So catch you on the next one. But I always like to say in closing, remember to question everything. Because if you don't, you may fall for anything think and say. Have a good day.